So there's a handful of things that we've launched through September, a significant handful actually. So I'm going to kind of go through each of these and talk about what they are and maybe give a small demonstration of each one of them. So the most recent thing that we launched was bulk commit by spreadsheet using transaction number. And this is pretty slick. So it really only applies if you are wanting to commit items to orders, your IMEIs onto your orders using a spreadsheet. But before this launched, we did not have the ability to use transaction number. So like your eBay order number or your Amazon or Swappa or Rebello, what have you, the order numbers from the channel. It was only using the order number from wholesale, which made this much more difficult. So we've been getting feedback from customers for a while now that was frustrating and difficult. And so now that we've added that, you could, in theory, scan if you had someone in your warehouse who you were wanting to keep track of which items were being shipped on which orders, but they didn't have access to wholesale, or they just wanted to do it in a spreadsheet for some other reason. You could have them scan the IMEI that was shipped and the transaction number of the e-commerce order into a spreadsheet, and then you can upload that to wholesale and set all of those IMEI associations. And so that is now possible using the transaction number from the order. And so if we go into wholesale here, this is going to be kind of tricky. Maybe I'll sign in a different so I can swap back and forth. So I've got two pages here for me to sign in. Do this. Okay. So the place that you would see this is on a sales order page. On the sales order page, if you go to bulk commit has this option for a spreadsheet upload. I'm going to make this a little wider so it's easier to see the inventory stuff we show. The upload spreadsheet button now has this transaction number section. So you can, before we only allowed order ID, which was the ID that you got out of wholesale, and then either the ID of the inventory or the ESN or IMEI that you're storing. And so that, unfortunately, for a lot of folks are maybe downloading a list of orders from their channel, or they're downloading, exporting it from ShipStation or whatever other place they're keeping orders. So usually you have the transaction number from the channel rather than the order number from wholesale. So now you can, like I said, compile a spreadsheet, come here, upload that spreadsheet, and you're off to the races. And so that makes things a lot faster. We've really tried to focus on the little things over the last few months of improving the experience of using wholesale for customers we've had that are using it every day. So that's our first one. The next one is filtering inventory by the date of the last status change, which is kind of neat. We get requests a lot to be able to see, for folks that are doing a lot of processing in wholesale, they want to be able to see when items got changed between different statuses to trigger different things. And so now in wholesale inventory tables, you have an option to filter over here on the right by the status change. So if you've got items that are changing from staging or unavailable or repair to available, if you want to see all the items that have changed from repair in the last day, you can kind of choose to set your parameters to the last 24 hours, and you can see all the items that changed status over that period. You can't filter for the status that they changed from, but you can filter for the status that they changed to by kind of combining this status filter and then the last status change, and that usually is able to give folks what they need. So another little thing, but one that helps when you're doing a lot of processing in the app. We've added a ton of API endpoints. We've had a number of customers that are using our API for many different things, for extracting data out and importing data in. So let me show you this API. Our API docs are at api.wholesell.io. So pretty straightforward. And we've just got a ton of endpoints now here. You can access the conditions of your account. You can access the grades. You've been able to access inventory for a long time, but now line items on inventory is new. Locations, being able to see all of the locations in an account, being able to create new locations and display all of them is really helpful. So you can, for folks that are using our API to build an entirely separate app that is very custom to the way they want to do things, now they can move inventory around to different locations. They can add notes to inventory or retrieve notes off of inventory. You can even upload the URL for photos to inventory to set specific inventory photos, and then purchase orders, sales orders, shipments, these last ones as well, stock levels and stock level reports. But warehouses are new, so you can create new warehouses or get a list of warehouses and accounts in an account, excuse me. And so these are very, very helpful for kind of two purposes. One is if you're building an app for your business, you have access to all of these things that are in Wholesale now in your account. But the second one is if you are a partner or a third-party other software developer building software that you want to connect to Wholesale, if you've got customers that you share with us and they're saying they want to be able to use your software but connect their Wholesale data to it, you have all these ways to build an app on top of Wholesale using the API now, which is pretty exciting. So those are new things we've added to the API in this period. It's actually working pretty well back and forth. So another thing is we've been hearing from B2B sellers, wholesalers for years now that they want to be able to track partial payments on invoices. And so we've launched that. So now on a Wholesale invoice, if you go into invoices here and we go look at a specific invoice, you can track payment history here on the right side, something that you could not do before. You could only apply a payment or apply credits. Now you can track payments that have been made and you can make them in whatever amount. And once the invoice is totally paid, once the amount reaches the, and it actually says that right here, once the amount of payments on the invoice reach the total of the invoice or greater, then Wholesale automatically marks the invoice as paid. So now you can track if your buyers come in and they just give you a deposit for half of an order, you can track that deposit or that partial payment, and then track the future payments and release the inventory once they've paid you in full, or however you're handling those situations. So partial invoice payments. Let's look at update list prices by spreadsheet upload. This one's really fun. We have more and more customers using our B2B portal to advertise their inventory, and the price that shows in the B2B portal. So I'll show the B2B portal really quickly. This B2B portal you can give to your customers. They can log in. You can invite them to it. They get an email. They can create their own username and password and log in, and then they get to see their account with you, what you have for sale, their order history, so it's in their own account, their item history, and their returns with you specifically. So this is like a customer portal. It's totally free. It's part of a Wholesale subscription, and we've got more and more people starting to use it. And one of the aspects of it is on this for sale page, you have advertised prices for your inventory that you've got in stock. And so these advertised prices are set on the pricing page in Wholesale. And so that pricing page is over here. Previously, there were two things about this pricing page that really got updated. One was that we did not display the SKU. So this pricing page was pretty old. It did not have a SKU, so you couldn't search for a SKU to set a price. But now you can search for a SKU. We can find that SKU here, and we can set the price very quickly just to that. And then if we had a bunch of them, we could tab, and set another price. But we have this new feature as well that allows you to download the spreadsheet of this pricing page, all of the items in the table here, which are all the items that you have in stock. And then you can set the prices in the spreadsheet and upload it, and that will set all of these prices for you, which granted, if you're just setting them here and you're setting them off of memory or something, that's probably fast enough. But what we see a lot more customers doing today, now that Wholesale does so much e-commerce, is folks will download their spreadsheet from Amazon or eBay or Backmarket or what have you, and they will use kind of multiple sheets in a Google Sheet or an Excel and do a VLOOKUP to bring over the Amazon price, maybe to set all of these advertised prices of B2B stock to the Amazon price, just for the simplicity of, or you could do that and then apply a 20% discount or something like that. But as a basis, so that setting pricing is a huge endeavor, and sellers are doing that every day. This makes it much faster to do in bulk, however they want to do it. And if you're interested in how we see customers doing this and saving time, I'm happy to share some spreadsheets and some kind of insight on how we see folks doing that. We've seen some pretty cool things over the last year or so. But we finally added this, which allows you to kind of, if you've got 3 or 4 different prices for a SKU, depending on the e-commerce channel and then B2B, you can keep those in a separate spreadsheet and export that spreadsheet to upload to Wholesale here. And as long as you've got the SKU, and then wholesale has a unique ID that will download with this sheet that has to be in there. But as long as you have that in your primary spreadsheet, you can kind of automate to some degree your pricing management, which can save a lot of time. So that's the pricing tool, and this feature of adding list prices by uploading a spreadsheet. And also, I guess I explained both of these. So you can search by SKU on the pricing page, and you can update via the spreadsheet. The last couple from September are creating damage conditions by uploading a CSV. So our damage conditions in the catalog in wholesale, which is in product catalog, and then damage conditions. These used to be you could not interact with them in a spreadsheet at all, and so now you can. You can upload a spreadsheet, and you just need to choose one that has, or you have to build a spreadsheet that has title, initials, and category as the headers for that sheet. But you could upload, you could even export your conditions from something like Phonecheck or another diagnostic tool that you're using, and upload those directly into wholesale so that you just use those conditions essentially, and that they can automatically import from whatever diagnostic tool you're using. So that should make things a lot faster, especially if you're just getting started with wholesale. And then last but not least, import Phonecheck cosmetics and mapping those cosmetics to conditions in wholesale. So now in the wholesale settings for Phonecheck, so go into Phonecheck here, you have this option to add cosmetics to conditions, which you can enable or disable. And when you've got values in Phonecheck for those cosmetics, if you'd entered something like cracked screen in the cosmetics section, you can now have the option. It'll ask you in wholesale when you're importing that item, it'll ask you what you want to map those cosmetics to. And since the cosmetics are just a thing that you write in Phonecheck, you're probably, each tester is writing it in maybe a little differently each time. That's why you have this option to map it to a standardized value in wholesale. We really try to make things as standardized as possible, especially with conditions, so that in the future, the whole value of that, the whole value, of course, of moving to wholesale from spreadsheets is being able to filter for specific conditions, right? We can filter for battery health below 80, but if you write this in different ways on a spreadsheet over many different items, it's very hard to filter for things that are kept in different formats. So that's why we try and map those things to known conditions in your catalog. All righty. I think that's about it. That's all of our updates for September. I'm gonna, just because I love it, I'm gonna go back and show this one aspect of scan reports really quick. Um, yeah, I want to show this and this scan reports action for anyone that hasn't seen it, just because that was a really slick update that we made. So for anyone that doesn't know, scan reports are a tool to audit your inventory. You can either audit your existing inventory in your wholesale account, like you could create a scan report and add all of your inventory in available status or any non-sold status, or any locations or warehouses or just all of it. And then that creates a report like this that has a progress bar. It has all of the items that you want to be on the report. And it's got this ability that as you scan the items, they highlight in green here with who scanned them and the timestamp that they were scanned. So we see these used all the time for receiving. If you're receiving a huge batch of inventory from an auction or a wholesale vendor or something like that, you can use this to validate, did you receive what you were supposed to in the manifest that they sent you? You can use this for a pick list on a big order. If you've got a wholesale order going out the door, you can use it as a kind of a pick by colors pick list, if you will. But we added a couple things to it that are really exciting. So one of them is people use these scan reports, like I said, for receiving, and now you can print labels, and labels will print for the items that have been scanned in the order that they were scanned. So you can, we can go back to the scan report and we can see, okay, these 5 items were scanned and were correct. They were on the sheet. These other ones, we now, as of an update, maybe like 6 months ago, are showing you items that are not on the sheet. We're storing those scans if something's not found or is a duplicate or something like that. And the duplicates are important, right? Because sometimes people could have printed out the same label for 2 different phones and they accidentally printed out the same label. So you scan the same serial number twice, but you've got 2 different phones. So that should clue you into figuring out what happened there. But nonetheless, when we go to print labels, we get the labels in the order that we scan these items. So you can use this as if you need to generate new labels, say the old labels have your vendor's logo on them or something, you can use this as a way to generate those labels. So super smooth and easy way to print labels. The last piece I want to share today is this scan action. So this has been pretty slick. Of course, we hear from folks wanting to automate the way that they do things in wholesale all the time, and this has been one of the most popular requests: is automating when they're scanning things. When you are scanning something on a scan report, it often means that you are scanning it into your inventory, and so at the point of scanning, you want it to automatically put the status of the item into maybe available. It goes from maybe receiving to available or incoming to available, and you may want to change the location. So say you're scanning items from a bin and you want to change them all to location receiving, right? Maybe you want to scan them into receiving. Now if we save this is going to automatically apply this action, these updates, to every item that we scan. So if we go back to our items here, I'll copy the serial number and kind of simulate scanning it with a barcode scanner. When we scan this, it's going to automatically highlight that item, and it's going to apply these scan actions, which maybe it's being fickle because I created the scan actions and then didn't refresh it. So let's try that. And then let's look at inventory items. Okay, cool. It did do the scan and it moved to the receiving location. And it did not update the status because this item was already sold. But this is a kind of an example of what's going on there. Let's try this with one of our available items to just show how quickly that normally loads. Yeah. So this is a way to, mostly on the receiving side, I should not have grabbed a sold item here to do that with. And that's probably what was pausing that. But this is a way to process your items faster by automatically applying a location change and a status change whenever you are doing a scan report. So that's that. I think that's probably as far back as I'm going to go on these updates. But if you got any questions, please toss them in the chat. And if not, I'll let you off to have a great weekend. All right. Not seeing anything in the chat. Excellent. Thanks, Nog. Yeah, great to see you here. And everyone have a great weekend. I'll talk to you in the next one of these. Take care and happy holidays. Cheers.